Every single week, the internet crowns a brand new superfood, and every week, it quietly cancels an old one. Eggs were basically poisoned for about 30 years, and now, suddenly, they're the perfect protein on Earth. Red meat either heals your body or gives you cancer, depending on whichever study your feed decided to show you today. Avocado oil is everyone's favorite healthy fat, except most of the bottles out there barely contain any real avocado. Today, I'm gonna break down the most popular healthy foods and give you the honest truth about all their hidden risks. I'm not a doctor, just to be clear, so treat this as one curious guy sharing what he found. Anything specific to your own body is a conversation for you and your actual physician. I want to start with the food that honestly made me question everything in my own cabinet. For years, I treated avocado as the untouchable king of healthy fats, and I told everyone the same thing. The hype is easy, because a real avocado genuinely is a fantastic food. One medium avocado can hand you somewhere around 700 to 900 milligrams of potassium. It also brings a solid dose of magnesium, which is an electrolyte most people are quietly low on. And the fat profile leans favorably too, with a much smaller share of it coming from omega-6 than you'd find in most seed oils. Seed oils can run 40 or 50% omega-6, which is the inflammatory one, so the actual fruit earns its reputation, and I still eat one most days. But there are some nuances here. A lot of them get picked hard and green, then dropped into a room full of ethylene gas. That gas force ripens the fruit artificially, so it looks flawless on the outside. The problem is the flavor chemicals and the phytonutrients never fully develop that way. That's why you cut one open and it looks perfect, but tastes like absolutely nothing inside. But that's just the cherry on top. Let's talk about avocado oil. UC Davis researchers ran the country's first big study on commercial avocado oil quality. They found that at least 82% of the bottles they tested were either rancid before their expiration date or cut with cheaper oils like soybean or canola. A few bottles, believe it or not, tested at basically 0% actual avocado oil. And this isn't old news either. Just last week, UC Davis published a follow-up study, and it's worse. This time, they tested chips, mayonnaise, and salad dressings labeled as made with avocado oil. 89% of those products didn't match what a real avocado oil should look like. Every single salad dressing they tested failed. 93% of the chips failed too. For comparison, when they ran the same test on products labeled with olive oil, only 1 out of 20 failed. So this isn't just one bad batch from 2020, it's a pattern that's actually spreading into more of the food supply. You'd think a word like extra virgin would legally protect you here, but it doesn't. Olive oil has an international legal definition for that term, and avocado oil simply does not. So there's no binding rule for how any of this gets processed or labeled. That empty space in the law is exactly where all the corruption sets up shop. They even use a step called deodorization, which strips the smell right out of rancid oil. You literally cannot taste the oxidation, but that doesn't mean the inflammation isn't riding along. The country of origin label is its own little magic trick too. Oil can be grown in one country and blended in another, yet still gets stamped as a US product. And there is no law forcing a real expiration or harvest date onto the bottle either. So you genuinely have no idea how long that oil has been quietly going rancid on a shelf. So here's how I actually shop for it now. And it's not complicated. I only buy avocado oil in a dark glass bottle because light oxidizes the oil right through clear plastic. I look for a real harvest date, and I refuse the absolute cheapest brand on the shelf. The oil itself should carry a faint green tint from the chlorophyll still in it. My verdict on the whole avocado situation is a firm yes, but choose carefully. The fruit is excellent, the oil is a minefield, and most cabinets are hiding a fate. Let's talk about the food that spent 30 years wrongly wearing a warning label. If you still flinch about eggs because of cholesterol, I want you to gently let that go, with one small asterisk. The old idea that dietary cholesterol from eggs drives your blood cholesterol just never held up the way it used to be taught. The US dietary guidelines quietly dropped the hard 300 milligram daily limit back in 2015, and almost nobody noticed. That said, the guidelines still say to keep dietary cholesterol as low as reasonably possible as part of an overall healthy pattern. So it's not a total dismissal, it's a downgrade from strict limit to keep it sensible. So the hype today has flipped completely, and now everyone calls eggs the perfect protein. Honestly, that reputation is mostly earned. And here's the actual reason why. Eggs sit at the very top of the biological value scale for protein. That just means your body absorbs and uses more of that protein than almost any other source. You also get every essential amino acid, including the leucine that actually triggers muscle repair. The yolk is where the real treasure is hiding, which is exactly why I never toss it. Egg yolk is one of the best food sources of choline you can possibly find. Choline helps protect your liver from getting fatty, and it helps build the bile that digests your fat. The yolk also carries lutein and zeaxanthin, two antioxidants that concentrate right in your retina. They help shield your eyes from the blue light and UV that slowly wear those cells down. So eggs are genuinely great. But the gotcha here is all about which egg you actually buy. The label game on egg cartons is honestly designed to confuse you a little. A big share of conventional eggs come from hens confined to a space smaller than a sheet of paper. That constant stress isn't something I personally want to support with my money. Cage-free sounds better, but it often just means a crowded barn with a bit more floor space. Pasture-raised is the one I actually reach for because those hens get real outdoor time. And that outdoor foraging genuinely changes the nutrition, shifting the fat toward more omega-3. If pasture-raised is out of your budget, please don't overthink it and skip eggs entirely. Even a plain, conventional egg still beats most processed protein you'd grab instead. One quick trick I use is pairing my eggs with an arugula salad for the fat-soluble absorption boost. The fat in that yolk helps your body pull way more of the phytonutrients out of the greens. My verdict on eggs is one of the easiest yeses on this entire list. I eat them almost every single day, and the only real decision is sourcing, not whether to eat them. Okay, this next one is the most underrated food I personally eat on a regular basis. Sardines cost less than $2 a can, and they punch way above that price. The hype around them is honestly pretty quiet, because nobody makes big money selling a cheap tin fish. But the reality is that one little can is genuinely one of the most nutrient-dense foods on Earth. A single can gives you roughly 23 grams of high-quality protein. It also delivers close to 900 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA, the two omega-3 fats that matter. To put that in perspective, the average person barely scrapes around 100 milligrams of those in a whole day. On top of that, you get calcium, a huge hit of B12 plus vitamin D and selenium in the same can. There was a real clinical trial out of Barcelona that caught my attention on this. It was a randomized trial with over 150 adults, and adding just 2 cans a week was linked to a real drop in the participants' diabetes risk, from a starting risk of around 37% down to about 8%. Now the gotcha most people bring up with any fish is mercury, so let's deal with it head on. Sardines are tiny and they live low on the food chain, so they barely accumulate any mercury at all. We're talking a tiny fraction of a part per million. Their mercury level is a small fraction of what you'd get from something big like tuna. They also carry selenium, which binds to mercury and helps your body escort it back out. I'll be honest though, the real gotcha with sardines is just getting past the smell and the reputation. I buy mine with the skin and the soft bones left in, packed in real olive oil. Those soft bones are where a lot of that calcium is hiding, so please don't pick them out. My verdict here is an enthusiastic yes, and it might be the best value food I eat all week. For $2 a can, Nothing else on this list competes with the nutrition you're getting. Now, this next one is the food that gets the most hysterical headlines pointed straight at it. Depending on your feed, red meat is either ancestral fuel or a one-way ticket to chronic disease. So let's actually separate what the evidence says from what the headline screamed. Here's the piece that gets lost in almost every scary article about meat and cancer. The World Health Organization actually classifies these two very differently. Processed meat sits in their highest risk category, the same one as tobacco in terms of certainty of evidence, not severity. We're talking about the hot dogs, the bacon, and the deli slices packed with nitrates and preservatives carrying the strongest evidence. A grass-fed burger you cooked yourself is a very different thing from a gas station sausage, even though neither one gets a free pass at extreme amounts. And a lot of the observational studies lump those two completely different foods together. Once you look at the real nutrition, grass-fed beef is genuinely impressive. It gives you highly bioavailable heme iron, well ahead of the non-heme iron you'd get from something like spinach. You also get a big load of zinc, plus the B12 that plants simply can't hand you. It carries carnosine, an antioxidant compound that your body uses to fight some of the wear of aging. And it's naturally rich in creatine, the same compound people buy by the tub for strength. The gotcha here is entirely about quality, because not all ground beef is the same animal. A cheap fast food patty can be blended from hundreds of different cattle from who knows where. Grass-fed and grass-finished beef gives you a better fat profile with more omega-3. I also skip the ultra-lean stuff and go for something a bit fattier, like an 80-20 grind. My verdict on grass-fed red meat is a confident yes, as long as it's unprocessed and well-sourced. The strongest cancer signal really belongs to the processed stuff, not the burger you made at home. And last but not least, a very unexpected one. Raw fermented sauerkraut is one of the most powerful probiotic foods you can buy. The catch is that it has to be raw and refrigerated, not the pasteurized stuff on a warm shelf. Heat and pasteurization kill off the exact microbes that make it worth eating. It's also a real source of vitamin K2, which helps keep calcium out of your arteries, though the amount per serving is modest compared to something like natto. Think of it as a nice bonus, not your main K2 source. A small forkful with a meal is all you need, so this is the easiest win on the list. My verdict is yes, as long as you find it in the refrigerated section. So let's zoom out, because the point of this was never just a ranked list of foods. Notice that almost every food here was genuinely good on its own merits. The trap was never the food itself, it was the sourcing and the quality nobody talks about. The avocado is great, but the oil is a legal minefield you have to navigate carefully. The egg is fantastic, but the carton label is quietly designed to confuse you. That's the actual mental model I want you to walk away with today. When someone crowns a new superfood, don't ask whether the food is healthy in a vacuum. Ask what the real version costs, how it's sourced, and who profits from you believing the hype. That single question will protect you from 90% of the nonsense in this space. I tested all of these myself, and these are the ones that genuinely earned a spot on my plate.